afternoon. My name is Josie, and I am a wilderness explorer.
Get to the end.
On today's episode, we will be covering the Ohio State game versus Northwestern at the Ohio Stadium on Saturday, October 29th at 3:30 p.m. on ESPN.
All right, come on in.
You're watching Superfan.
Buckeye football field.
Who's hungry?
Today on Superfan, we have a special guest, the top defensive tackle, Robert Landers. I'm your host, Brianna McNary, and we're going to get to know Robert outside of a football player. It was just last year that you got your black stripes removed from your helmet, which makes you an official Buckeye. How did you feel knowing that your football career was about to take off from that point on?
It was very overwhelming at first, just because a childhood dream was becoming a reality, and the fact that I was officially a part of the team and officially a Buckeye, it just made a childhood dream come true. And from there I was just ready to start, you could say my career, or see where I could go with my season.
What advice would you give incoming athletes who want to get play time on the field as a freshman?
The biggest thing I would say is be ready to work. One thing especially about OSU is, nothing is handed to you. Coach Meyer is one of those people who, number one, he checks all egos at the door. So any egos you have from high school, might as well put it in the trash before you step on campus. Everything you do is hard. You have to work for everything you get, from, playing time all the way down to socks from the equipment room. You just got to have that mindset of you're going to come in and perform to your best ability, and you're not going to let anything stop you. But at the same time, you have to be ready to also build a bond with your brothers, quote unquote the team, just because when things start getting hard, those are going to be the people that you're going to turn to who really understand. It's different from calling your mom or your uncle, people back home who's not in your shoes to experience what you're going through, as of talking to somebody who's going through it with you and who has been through it multiple times before you. So that'll be the biggest thing, is just coming in, ego gets checked, and just be ready to work.
Your younger brother, Trey, how important is it for you to be a role model to him?
It's a big deal for me to be a role model for him, just because, growing up, after my dad passed away, I took on the role of being a man of the house and trying to be that father figure to him and my youngest brother, Tyler, who's a sophomore in high school now. I know what he's about to go through as far as being a college athlete, and it's even times now he calls me like, bro, it's starting to get a little rough. I'm like, it's gonna get harder before you know it. Just tell me, you gotta grind it out. One thing about all of us is, I tell all of my brothers, whatever you decide to do, I'm gonna support you in it, whether it's play basketball, play checkers for a living. Like, if that's what you want to do, then do it. But if you're gonna do it, put your all in, because if you don't, you'll lose the love and passion for it, and it'll just be a waste of time.
Do you have an inspirational quote that you try to live by?
There's a couple. I'm really big on quotes, but I would say the biggest one is, life is full of lessons, and blessings never regrets. When you go through tough times, it's nothing to regret. If you make a bad decision, there's nothing to regret. You learn from it. God puts you in certain positions, and puts you in certain circumstances, whether good or bad, to teach you something. And instead of taking it negatively and being down on yourself, or saying I hate this, or I hate that, or I regret this, I regret that, learn from it. That situation is teaching you something. And when you get a blessing, grab onto it, run with it.
Coming off a very surprising and disappointing loss last week against Penn State, I expect Ohio State to come out and look like an angry football team this week. The play calling left a lot to be desired, and I hope that the coaches have learned a lesson, much like after the MSU loss last year. Curtis Samuel needs to get the ball more. Giving your best playmaker only 10 touches is a mistake. We all know what he can do when he touches the ball, seen in that 74-yard touchdown run in the third quarter. Our staff needs to get the ball in Samuel's hands any way possible, get creative. Northwestern is coming off 3 strong showings in wins over Iowa, Michigan State, and Indiana, and they're playing pretty good football right now, so this game is definitely no gimme. Buckeyes still have a chance to win the Big Ten and possibly make the playoffs if they win out. And I believe that Coach Meyer will want to make a statement in this game with much more aggressive play calling. I predict that Ohio State will look much better in this game than they have the past few weeks, but I think Northwestern will keep it somewhat close, at least in the beginning. I'm going to call it 38-17 Ohio State, with the defense getting scored this week.
Hey guys, I'm here at Ohio Stadium seeing if I can find Ohio State's Superfan. Alright, I gave each team 30 seconds to answer as many questions as they could. Who do we have here?
I'm John. And I am Anthony.
Justin Jackson.
Curtis.
Michael Thomas.
Why do you think that you're Ohio State's Superfan?
I'm from Columbus. You have to be a fan if you're in Columbus.
Because I've been watching Ohio State since I was born. Just look at me. Obviously I am.
Because I am. I know better.
Good enough answer.
Oh, I was just going to say because I know everything, but apparently I don't. Because I'm watching Superfan on Buckeye TV.
Okay, we'll start with... Who was the 2-time Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State?
Archie Griffin. Archie Griffin.
He was a Heisman Trophy winner in 1974 and 1975. Who is Ohio State's first 3-time All-American?
Oh, Chris Spielman. We only have 30 seconds. No. Eddie George.
Vic Jan, Chick Harley.
Yes, yes! Charles Harley was the first 3-time All-American. Who holds the record at the moment for the most passing touchdowns at Ohio State?
Bobby Hoying.
Right now,
Quarterback.
JT Barrett.
JT Barrett.
that is right!
JT Barrett.
JT Barrett is in the lead with 62 passing touchdowns. Who holds the record for the most total offensive yards?
Then also JT.
Eddie George.
No, Braxton.
Yes.
Braxton Miller.
Yes.
Braxton Miller.
Braxton Miller is in the lead with 8,950 yards. What was the score of the first game of the season against Bowling Green? It was kind of a blowout.
72-7. 77-7. No, yeah, 77-7. 77-10.
Yeah! Which year did Ohio State win their first national championship?
1926.
Who coached the Buckeyes before Jim Trussell?
Oh, they just announced this. I was from here. I don't know. John Cooper. Oh my gosh. Jim Trussell.
John Cooper was the Buckeyes coach from 1988 to 2000. Who started as quarterback for the Buckeyes in every game of 2002?
Troy Smith.
Craig Krenzel.
Yeah! That same year, he led the Buckeyes to the national championship. Who was the offensive MVP of 2015's college football playoff national championship game? Played for the Cowboys.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott.
He ran 36 times for 246 yards. So do you think that you're Ohio State's super fan?
2-yard touchdown pass from Clayton Thorson to Garrett Dickerson.
Lego.
Clayton Thorson, the ball carrier.